Well, the big question is, can Uganda or will Uganda be in position to end HIV infections, new HIV infections by 2030? Because that is one of the global development goals that we have as a country. And we have been on this fight for so many years. We had the first infections back in the 80s, and then in the 90s we had a scourge of HIV infections. Many families lost loved ones, many children were left orphans, husbands left widowers, and wives left widows, and parents without children because of the HIV infection. And yet here we are in 2024, when we have gained so much in terms of treatment and also in terms of prevention. But the big question remains, shall we manage to end new HIV infections by 2030? That's a big question. And also, as a Gen Z, I am targeting Gen Zs for a reason. You see, people, millennials and baby boomers, we saw what HIV was all about. We saw how people were dropping dead, literally. But the question is, do Gen Zs know what's going on today? Are there conversations in their circles regarding HIV infection and how dire it can be? Those that are living positively, are you speaking to young people so that they can avoid infection? Many questions, not many answers, but later on in our newsreel, we will be having a conversation with a lady that is living positively with HIV. How has she used her situation to help her communities and also to empower and inspire young people that maybe were born with the disease or got infected along the way? So I would advise you to stick around and have this conversation with us. You can actually send in your questions right at the time. But for now, I am with the two gentlemen that I do this with every morning. That is Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono and Joram Paul Sonko. And my name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, if you're wondering why Olive started this Wednesday, Women Crush Wednesday, with the HIV/AIDS talk, 1st December, which will be Sunday, is the day when the world commemorates International AIDS Day. But it's not just about talking about AIDS on that day. It's what we do in the months that come through and how we are ensuring that we stay safe to protect ourselves, but also to protect our loved ones. Good morning, Jerome.
Well, good morning to you, Olive. Surprisingly, it is a shocker on my side that we are almost ending the year.
It
when
is.
You mentioned the 1st of December coming up this Sunday. it has now just, you know, clicked into my brain that, hey, the month is coming to an end.
And the year is ending.
And I was like, okay.
Looks like yesterday when we had the G77, the NAM conference.
Exactly. It feels like the year just started, but it's coming to an end, and I need to revisit my financial decisions this year.
Interesting.
But of course, you've started on a very cautious note of HIV spread in the country, which is something that the Gen Z, an era that I belong to, really needs to up their game in the fight against this HIV spread, because the campaign that we're having in Uganda, or that is running, is to ensure that we end the spread by 2030 or new infections by 2030. And it does seem like there is a certain age group that is doing the right things. And you've said there are people who were there during the time when the first few cases of HIV/AIDS were within the country. So that kind of experience that they have taught them to be very cautious and mindful about their life decisions. Today, it's quite unfortunate that the young people who look to be more learned and more exposed are not paying attention to how they make their life decisions. So I think this year, when we are celebrating this, besides regular checkups, I think the issue to do with having multiple sexual partners needs to be highly discussed, because it's something that is eating up our generation. But also, Olive, in the same regard, yesterday, I did mention earlier on that there is some drama within the Uganda Law Society.
That's right.
Now, besides that, yesterday in Parliament, there was also a discussion in relation to the current president of the Uganda Law Society coming out, and I even had the speaker speaking direct to the same issue, that what the derogatory terms he used against the DPP were not only heading to the DPP, but they were representing his stance on women, meaning he has to come out, and meaning that the speaker will take action sooner than later to ensure that there is an apology, and of course, so that we see that these words are not used so much or are out of order, because they were out of order really. And also there is a developing report, a developing story that started as a rumor on social media, and it's now heading into the mainstream, relating to a 60 billion fraud within the central bank. And I've seen
was siphoned within seconds.
60 seconds. And I've also seen the Daily Monitor reporting on the same issue, and we shall be giving you details of that in the press review.
Yes.
So that was something that was actually a rumor over the weekend on social media. People were saying, no, it's not true. But now, yesterday, it hit the mainstream media, and people are asking, how are we in this position? It is a developing report, but it doesn't put us in the best picture.
No, it doesn't. And also this very week, we have had 2 other incidents of fraud, where we had 500 fake money found in the vault in Postbank Mbale branch. But also G4S security guards who took off with over $1 billion shillings. So what's going on here?
Especially in the banking sector.
Especially in the banking sector. Obviously, the banks are saying your money is safe. And I think the money is safe, actually. As a former bank, I'll tell you that. Why? Because regardless of what money has been siphoned out, banks usually have reserves in the central bank. So your money is safe. But it's still a big question, how did fake money get into a vault? The vault is the safest place and the most secure place in a bank. Well, Robert, good morning.
Lovely morning to our viewer, you and Sonko. I hope it's a good morning to you. Now, when Sonko talked about knowing that we are entering a new month very soon, it just reminded me of a song, and I hope Ruben will play for us that song tomorrow, being Throwback Thursday, that talks about one day at a time. Sweet Jesus, teach me to do what I have to do every day and one day at a time. Sometimes life runs so fast, time runs so fast, that you only need to perfect what you're supposed to do each and every day. We were talking about ending new infections by 2030. There is a global formula, and I believe people who did mathematics know very well that formulas help us to solve problems, that is in mathematics and in everything. Now, globally, we are looking at what we call the 95-95-95 formula to enable countries achieve the 2030 goal. How is the 95 formula practically? It is that 95% of every country's population should test for HIV/AIDS. Now, when 95% of the population tests for HIV/AIDS, then those that are found positive, 95% of those found positive should start medication. Now it goes ahead to indicate, if you're making your calculations, that then 95% of those that started medication should stick on the medication and suppress their viral load. Now, science has proven that when someone suppresses their viral load, they are not in a position of spreading HIV/AIDS. So they should suppress their viral load and stick to treatment. Now, if 95% of the population know that those that are HIV positive begin medication and they stick to that medication, then automatically, and they have reasonable behavior, they will not pass on new infections. So we shall be able to end HIV/AIDS by 2030. The question to you watching us this morning, do you know your HIV status?
And I'll throw that back to you, Robert. When is the last time you had a test?
About,
let's walk the talk.
Well, I asked that question, Olive.
I know mine. I know mine. I know mine. I can confidently thump my chest and say, I know mine. When did you last have a test?
Oh, I know mine. I can stamp my chest.
And Joram, we must walk that talk.
You know what is surprising me was a very simple question. When was the last time you had your test? And everybody's saying, I know mine. Okay, you know yours.
Yes.
But when was the last time you checked? It's very important for us to have consistent and constant checks, especially if you're sexually active. That's the only way you're going to know where you stand and how you can start medication. But let's get into the local news.
Well, we'll begin with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has tasked Africa's public servants with using their position to influence ideological transformation as a means of promoting peace and development on the continent. President Museveni, who likened leadership to medical services where there is no room for error, challenged public servants to ensure that as they advise politicians, they promote Pan-Africanism rather than the politics of identity. Museveni was speaking at the opening ceremony of the 43rd African Association of Public Administration and Management and a round-table conference which is currently underway at the Munyonyo Speak Resort Hotel. The patron of the Ateka people in the whole of Africa continent, His Excellency Hamelinian Deselangen, has arrived in the country for the Ateka Culture Festival 2024. Till April 2018. Upon arrival at Entebbe International Airport, she was received by Uganda's Vice President, retired Major Jessica Alupo, and the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mao, and also the Minister for Ethics and Integrity, Rosemary Akelo, at Entebbe International Airport. The First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, chaired the inaugural meeting between the Confederation of African Football team and the chairpersons of the 13 sub-committees of the Uganda's local organizing committee for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. As chairperson of Uganda's local organizing committee for this event, Mrs. Museveni hosted the meeting at State House Nakasero to discuss Uganda's preparedness for the upcoming tournament. And looking at Parliament, Parliament has tasked both the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to explain the circumstances surrounding the arrest of former Forum for Democratic Change Party President Dr. Kizza Besigye in Kenya. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, issued the directive after a section of opposition members of Parliament raising concern over the nature of Dr. Besigye's arrest, and Kira Municipality Member of Parliament Ibrahim Semujunganda presented a report to the House describing what he termed as the abduction of Dr. Kizza Besigye while on duty in a neighboring country. The House reconvened yesterday afternoon, weeks after the controversial National Coffee Amendment Bill 2024 was passed into law amidst chaos. And finally, from the local scene, human trafficking cases remain a major concern in Uganda, with at least 1,370 victims trafficked between January and October this very year. The Director of Public Prosecution, Lady Justice Jen Francis Abodo, urged the public that this is a matter that should be addressed, and this vice should be addressed in a multi-sectoral approach, such as involving Financial Intelligence Authority and adopting a victim-centered and trauma information approach. The DPP made the remarks at the second national engagement at the Standard Operating Procedures for Investigating and Prosecuting Trafficking in Persons.
And well, on the international A ceasefire starts between Israel and Hezbollah to end fighting in Lebanon. A ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah took effect at 4 a.m. local time in Lebanon amid hopes the truce will bring a permanent end to Israeli attacks on Lebanese towns and cities and more than a year of fighting in southern Lebanon and northern Israel. U.S. President Joe Biden says the deal between Israel and Hezbollah involves Israeli forces withdrawing from Lebanon over 60 days, with Lebanon's military taking control of territory in the south of the country to ensure Hezbollah does not rebuild forces. Israeli attacks have killed dozens in Gaza, including 13 people sheltering in a school in Gaza City's Zaytun neighborhood. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 44,249 Palestinians and wounded 100,746 others since October 7, 2023. At least 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks that day, and more than 200 were taken captive. In Lebanon, at least 3,823 people have been killed and 15,859 wounded in Israeli attacks since the war on Gaza began. Moving on, United States President-elect Donald Trump's transition team has signed a memorandum of understanding with Joe Biden's outgoing administration in order to kickstart preparations for his second term in the White House. But Tuesday's memorandum notably sidestepped an ethics agreement that would have forced Trump to be transparent about who may be financing his transition effort. It also avoided the question of background checks for Trump's nominees to high-level government positions, another area in which the president-elect has backed political norms. Nevertheless, in a statement on Tuesday, Trump's incoming chief of staff, Susie Wiles, called the memorandum a step forward. She said, and I quote, "This engagement allows our intended cabinet nominees to begin critical preparations, including the deployment of landing teams to every department and agency, and complete the orderly transition of power." End quote. In other news, Egyptian rescuers found 4 bodies and 5 survivors on Tuesday during a Red Sea search operation after a tourist boat carrying 44 people sank on Monday. A total of 33 people have been rescued so far, but 7 were still missing as of Tuesday evening. The victims' identities have not yet been disclosed by authorities. The BBC understands 2 of the missing are British nationals. The 4-deck modern vessel had been carrying 31 passengers and 13 crew when it is understood to have been hit by a large wave near Masa Alam, causing it to capsize. The boat sent distress calls at 5:30 local time, local authorities said. The vessel sank within 5 to 7 minutes, according to Red Sea Governor Major General Amr Hanafi. He said some people had been unable to escape from their cabins. A total of 28 people were rescued by military personnel and a passing tourist boat in the hours after the vessel capsized. The governor had earlier said other survivors were found in the Wadi El Gemal area south of Masa Alam. Well, now let's look at the press review.
Well, there are 3,000 more teaching jobs according to what the New Vision is highlighting, 250 vacancies for head teachers and deputies, and you can easily see how best you can apply for those. And where are they rather than trucks diverted off Jinja Highway as the maintenance works kick off. The Works Minister, Honorable Katumba Wamala, on Monday directed that all trucks avoid using the main Kampala-Jinja Highway so that the contractor Enago project accelerates ongoing works on the Mabira section. Now, friends, remember on Apito, There is a report of that in the New Vision. Hunger looms in Isinjiro district as farms in Chikagate Town Council in the district of Isinjiro have been invaded by cutworms, leaving residents in fear of food insecurity. Then grasshopper season kicks off. There is a pictorial of grasshopper and Senene customers lining up to buy them from traders at the market in Katwe on Entebbe Road. As the holiday season begins, the arrival of grasshoppers signals the festive mood in Uganda. 129,000 face disruptions over the Yaka meters, according to a new report. Then also, Museveni opens African Management Conference. There's a full report and a full story on that coverage as he was opening it. Now to the Daily Monitor, 60 billion shillings gone from the Bank of Uganda in 60 seconds. Spirited away, Bank of Uganda officials say that they are waiting for a police investigation to help them confirm the whereabouts of $17 million that was reportedly siphoned out of the central bank's accounts in just seconds. Now, there is another report, diabetes eating up young people is an element of crisis. There was an overall increase in the prevalence of high blood glucose, an indicator of diabetes, from 1.3% in 2014 to 2.9% in 2023. Now, there is also a report that shows that over 3,000 children and adolescents live with type 1 diabetes. Then there is a surge in regional prevalence between 2014 to 2022 shows that there is 1.5% within the central, that is a 4.2% total, and then an increase of from 0.9% in eastern to 2.7% over the past 10 years. Then in northern Uganda, a slight increase from 1.3% to 1.5%. And then in western Uganda, double the increment from 1.4% to 2.8%. And the prevalence of high school glucose in rural areas increased from 1.1% in 2014 to 2.8% in 2023. Now, also, in matters laws, new law allows all marriages to be registered online. You can find that report in the Daily Monitor. Now, Besigye won't give up struggle, says wife Bianyema. And also, in the home's perspective, the face behind the city's iconic buildings. Find more details in the Daily Monitor. Now, away from that, we look at the Daily Nation in Kenya. Ruto, why Gachagua had to go. The unity call, President has avoided publicly talking about the ouster of his former deputy, often sticking to calls to end tribalism. Now, there is also a report of a gentleman who says, I was coerced to fix my father in a defilement case, says a woman aged 24. Now, bank sues Joho over 54 million Kenyan shillings loan areas. And then there's issues parenting, raising a preterm baby. That report is in the Daily Nation. Then Raila pitches camp in West Africa as he campaigns for the African Union chairmanship top job. And then residents of African Union Commission top job. Now, residents of City Estate suffer blow as court okays demolitions for Sakaja housing project. Then lastly, from the press reviews, The Citizen, crucial test for Tanzanian democracy. Tanzanians go to the polls today in the 2024 local government elections that are a precursor to next year's general election and which will once again test Tanzania's credentials as far as democracy and governance are concerned. Now, also, government and private sector team up on execution of universal health insurance as Kariako toll rises to 29 as cleanup ends. There is also a report on a 132 billion Tanzanian shillings road maintenance project, which is set to involve the locals. Then Tigo rebrands to Yas with focus on telco's continental ambitions. And then there's a report on political platform. There's a concern about voter empathy under scrutiny ahead of 2025. And well, that does it for our press review this morning.
Press review will take a short break, and the song of the day today is Memories by Epas featuring Lillian Mbabazi. Enjoy.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good.
Well, the big question is, can Uganda or will Uganda be in position to end HIV infections, new HIV infections by 2030? Because that is one of the global development goals that we have as a country. And we have been on this fight for so many years. We had the first infections back in the 80s, and then in the 90s we had a scourge of HIV infections. Many families lost loved ones, many children were left orphans, husbands left widowers, and wives left widows, and parents without children because of the HIV infection. And yet here we are in 2024, when we have gained so much in terms of treatment and also in terms of prevention. But the big question remains, shall we manage to end new HIV infections by 2030? That's a big question. And also, as a Gen Z, I am targeting Gen Zs for a reason. You see, people, millennials and baby boomers, we saw what HIV was all about. We saw how people were dropping dead, literally. But the question is, do Gen Zs know what's going on today? Are there conversations in their circles regarding HIV infection and how dire it can be? Those that are living positively, are you speaking to young people so that they can avoid infection? Many questions, not many answers, but later on in our newsreel, we will be having a conversation with a lady that is living positively with HIV. How has she used her situation to help her communities and also to empower and inspire young people that maybe were born with the disease or got infected along the way? So I would advise you to stick around and have this conversation with us. You can actually send in your questions right at the time. But for now, I am with the two gentlemen that I do this with every morning. That is Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono and Jerome Paul Sonko. And my name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, if you're wondering why Olive started this Wednesday, Women Crush Wednesday, with the HIV/AIDS talk, 1st December, which will be Sunday, is the day when the world commemorates International AIDS Day. But it's not just about talking about AIDS on that day. It's what we do in the months that come.
Information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, like I promised earlier, we were going to delve deeper into the conversation surrounding HIV infection, HIV/AIDS, and also access to medication. Now with me is Barbra Kisa, who has a story, but also who has used her story to empower communities and also to help those that are living positively with HIV/AIDS. Now, Barbra, a little about Barbra's story. Barbra Kisa was sexually abused at the age of 6 by her uncles. She had multiple sexual partners and became a sex addict by the age of 11. But Barbra turned her life around. Now, I will not go deeper into that. Barbra will share that with us. But this is a person that is living positively, but she has made lemonade out of the lemons that life has thrown at her, and I am here for that. But also, I like the fact that she is at the forefront of empowering young people, talking to them about HIV/AIDS, about infection, about access to drugs, about living positively, encouraging them and reminding them that having an HIV positive result is not the end of the world. Now, Uganda, together with the rest of the world, will be commemorating World AIDS Day on 1st December, which will be Sunday. And what better way to start the conversations than with this? You're welcome, Barbra.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You look beautiful.
Good to be here. Thank you
Skin
so
is
much.
glowing.
Oh, thank you. I usually say it's the power of the peel.
It's the power of the peel. Okay. Now, Barbra, I've seen your story before, and I'm so happy that I'm going to be having a conversation with you regarding the same. First of all, take us back a bit about your story, the part that you feel where you found your strength.
Okay. Well, I think my strength really comes the day I tested HIV positive. Because before then, I didn't really know what was happening with me. I was just a normal, typical girl. And yeah, I had my ups and downs, the sexual abuses, which I grew up thinking they were just the games you can play with anyone. And then the multiple sexual partners, getting pregnant at a very early age and having the pregnancy terminated by your family at 8 months. And then you literally see your baby wrapped in a plastic bag and thrown away. So yeah, it was kind of traumatizing, but it kind of just pushed me to be the worst version of myself. But until when I tested HIV positive, I was pregnant again, and then I realized there was more to life than the things we hear people telling us. For example, I grew up hearing, if you're HIV positive, you're sick, you're going to die, you have no future, things like that. But the day I tested HIV positive, I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel any of those things. So I said, I'm just going to change the face of HIV, and HIV stops with me. So that's when I just said to start the awareness drives. Of course, being on the streets were my audience, and yeah, that's where it all started.
Okay. Now, since the sexual abuse started happening at the age of 11, at what age are you now when you find out you're HIV positive?
22. I was 22.
22.
Yes.
Okay.
Though I don't know if I got HIV back then because I didn't really grow up with any signs or anything. And even the time I tested positive, it's not that I was sick. Yeah, but I was pregnant, like you walk in for antenatal care, and then one of the tests is HIV, and you're positive. So yeah, I don't really know who gave me the virus, because even the father of that child is negative.
And he is still negative?
Yes, he is still negative. We separated when I was pregnant, yeah, so.
Okay. So you do have 2 children, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, and both of them are okay?
No, the first one, I was on the streets. Things were really, really tight. She was born negative, but she got it through mixed feeding.
You were breastfeeding and at the same time feeding?
Because I could not afford either way, like maybe just put her on other feeds alone. I could not afford that, or breastfeed exclusively. I could not still afford that. So I had to do what was available. But the second boy is negative.
Negative.
Yes.
And you're married? Okay, listen, because I was going to ask about your
He's
current
negative.
partner, if
He's
he
negative.
is. And the reason I'm asking is because many people do not know much about discordant couples.
Yeah.
Yes, that you can actually be a couple with someone that is HIV positive and you're HIV negative and you're okay. So please help us understand how discordance works.
Okay, so I can say I've really only had negative partners. So my husband, okay, we've been separate for like 7 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's negative, and for the entire time, like for the 2 years we were really together, he's still negative. 2-3 years, he's still negative. So discordance is mostly if I take my medicine very well, I get to an undetectable viral load, like the amount of virus in the blood. So when someone has a high viral load, that's when they have like millions of virus in their bodies. But as someone takes their medication very well, the virus gets going down and down. So by the time you're declared undetectable, it means you have like 20 mils
Okay.
and below, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm having a conversation with Barbra Kisa, a lady that is living positively with HIV, but she has not let that deter her. She's actually at the forefront when it comes to the HIV efforts and response, and also speaking to communities and changing the face of HIV, like she has said. Now, you have many initiatives and projects you've worked on with young people, and also to again be the face of HIV, because I'll give you an example. Back in the 90s, as a child, then all I knew about HIV was doom. You have HIV, you get sick, very sick, and then you die. Okay, now you're seated right here looking extremely beautiful, you're glowing. You say it is the power of the pill.
Yes, the pill.
So when it comes to treatment, you have walked this journey.
Yes.
And if someone, let's say, got their HIV results yesterday and they're positive, where do they start?
Oh, well, today it is super easy because it is test and treat mostly. So the moment you're tested HIV positive, you walk into any treatment and care center, and we have so many of these around the country. So with so many treatment and care centers, just walk in there, go with your results, and before they give you the medication, they'll have to do a confirmatory test. So with this confirmatory test, they'll do your viral load, CD4 count, and you will start your medication as you wait for your results. So it is really easy, and also the medication is much simpler compared to what we used to have then. For example, my daughter started on second line, and by age 10, she had over 10 or 13 pills every day.
Yes.
But right now she's taking 3. I'm taking 1 pill a day, and that's literally what's happening with most people. We have the injection coming through. So today treatment is really better, and then the side effects are also very reduced. So you feel like we fought the biggest battle as we started. Okay, we fought a little bit, but those that really started with sources of medication, it was really tough, but the pill burden has greatly reduced, and the stigma levels are still there, but with the awareness drive, sensitization, I feel people can now accept themselves easier than it used to be back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think has led to the decrease? Okay, you say the stigma levels are still there. Are they as bad as, like, I don't know if you were of sound or like understanding mind pretty back in the 90s, but back then there were even names. They would see someone that is frail and they say oyembwa ya muluma, words like that.
Mulambo gutambula.
Omulambo gutambula, yes. Are they still at that point, or something has changed?
Personally, I have experienced some of those words, and then while I was in Kampala, but now that I stay in Hoima, yeah, and it's a rural community, so actually there those words are still very, you know, common. Yeah, not like my status is out there, or people who they know their statuses. it is easy for some, or you're your father, you know? Yeah, like people declare you dead while you're still alive. I'm writing a book called A Tale of a Rotten Avocado, because someone called me a rotten avocado, and I just want to write this book and bring out the beautiful oil that comes out of a rotten avocado.
And it has many uses.
You know, so I think I've learned to turn negativity into positivity, and yeah, whatever stones you throw at me, maybe they can build a house, they can make a wall painting or something. So I don't see stigma or discrimination as something that can really pull someone down, and what we need is to empower people to build the capacity of the young people so that they are able to conceal whatever is thrown at them. Yeah.
And that's very important. Now, I do realize that in the projects you have, there is the Barbra, is it the BK Book Club?
BKF, Barbra Kisa Foundation.
Exactly, the Barbra Kisa Foundation. And there is a story that I found very poignant of a young man who found at around the age of 13 that he was HIV positive, and the stress of it, he dropped out of school, became a rascal in community, but he said you turned his life around with the foundation. So tell us more about the Barbra Kisa Foundation and the work you do, especially with young people.
Thank you so much. So Barbra Kisa Foundation was started because when I look at my story, I feel like I could be a good example to other people to look at how I have managed to move from all these levels. So I started Barbra Kisa Foundation in 2020 during COVID. I had come back from the US for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and I had learned so much. So I decided to come and start having children at my small homes. And because I had many children, I kept being evicted over and over. You know, Kampala, you know, so I kept being evicted and I became frustrated. So when COVID hit, I realized I had a small piece of land in Hoima. So, and I had saved some little money, so I went and started a community center in Hoima. So Barbra Kisa Foundation currently has 300 young people, and we are working with young people living with HIV, those affected and at risk of HIV, and we work through small She clubs. So She clubs are safe, healthy, empowered clubs. So with these ones, they're accountability clubs where we make sure that your small group, you're 10, you have to be responsible for each other. So with that one boy, he had another friend. So those ones I purposely took them back to school because I had started seeing their leadership role evolving. So I took them to school, and while in that school, they were able to mobilize their peers. So the She Club started in that school. So I've seen how each one is making sure nobody is last in class. So the accountability is with academics. The accountability is making sure that someone is not in bad peer groups. The accountability is how are we transforming our community together, because every month each group is supposed to do community service. And then they've turned the whole school into a garden because they've planted vegetables around the school and also trees. I think the other week they created resting benches within the school. So, and they've challenged other clubs to really come up. Right now, I don't have to tell them what to do. They can write their own concept notes, go look for funding and partnerships while they're doing their community service. So to me, I've realized mentorship is very, very important. This year, we started our Leadership Academy, and through the Leadership Academy, we are doing civic leadership. How can young people be part of transforming their communities? But also business and entrepreneurship. Most of them are coming from extremely vulnerable families, and most of them were dropping out of school. So we are like, what are those small projects we can start to see that we can get some money, because I don't have a salary. I depend on the donations that I receive from people, and these are usually like me to take care of myself. But I've realized that's what I have to use to pay the school fees for the young people. I have like 4 of them staying at the center, so I also have to feed them. I have my 2 children and myself, my mother.
You have workers?
I have workers, yes, I have 2 staff. So yeah, it becomes really overwhelming, but the fact that they've given me this like willingness to do the things they are doing, it keeps pushing me to go out there and write short proposals, meet people, and you know, find a way.
So how has it been like finding partners in this effort? People to give you donations and help you, because the work you're doing is not mean feat, and a lot of money is needed. And I understand, even as we speak, there is a fundraiser going on.
Yes, to be honest, when I was starting this whole thing, I said, God, I've seen the impact you've created in my life, because as a street child, there are people that came in my life and helped me to see life differently. They encouraged me. Sometimes someone would open their homes for me for a week, and I'd just go and stay there. Sometimes when I didn't have where to stay, I would give my daughter at weeks to a friend to be with her as me, I survived. So I feel like I'm really blessed. I've never paid school fees for my children, because someone really paid someone is paying school fees for them. So when I look at those things, I keep telling myself, you know, at the right time, God, you will make a way. You will lead me to the right people. You know, because you can write good proposals, you can meet people, but if God doesn't convict them to provide for you, they will not. So I like, you've seen the small fundraising booklet I have. Honestly, I'm just saying, if you know someone who can maybe give me $1 million or 20, or you know, something like, because right now we want to buy 10 to 20 acres of land, and this we believe can help us to have sustainability projects that can help these young people. We are doing a Bring Back to Care campaign, and we are supported by Bella Uganda, and Bella Uganda's support helps me to pay salary for the 2 staff that I have. Thus I've been able to keep them. So with this, we've realized there are so many people that have run out of treatment and care. So we've been trying to go to communities and looking for them. But when we bring them, what next? Without peer support and adherence clubs, they'll keep going back and getting lost. And to me, that is really my biggest challenge right now, because there is no funding that is really helping to keep that happening. So it really frustrates me knowing what treatment has done for me and seeing how people don't have that support to keep in care. It's really frustrating. As you know, rural communities, distances are really long to walk, and yeah, so, but I think I'm just positive, because when I started because I believed in what I'm doing. Right now I have a 3-bedroomed house that I have built.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's still a lot of work in progress.
Well done. From the street to a 3-bedroom house, with all this work that you're doing for the community.
Yes, and I'm also putting up a big hall that can sit like 50 people, with a computer room, a library, and 2 small offices. It's almost to the wall plate, and that one was supported mostly by Professor Wasabalunywa of MOOBS, of the former principal of MOOBS. So there's work in progress. Yesterday, Bella Uganda gave us 4 sewing machines. Oh. Yeah, because they used to see us doing those small skirts, face masks using we were doing hand sewing.
Okay, so now, Barbra, I would like for us to also talk about the pill bottle project. What have you done with that, and what is your aim with that?
Okay, I think I'm also into, it started with me giving birth to an HIV negative child and also having an HIV negative husband. So when I saw that, I thought like it was all because of the medication. So I called it pill power. So with pill power, I thought like I needed to promote treatment more than before. I wanted to encourage as many people as possible to take their ARVs, to believe in them, because I'm healthy. I don't have anything on my skin that shows I'm HIV positive.
I can see.
And this is because I started my treatment early. So I keep emphasizing, let's test for HIV before you feel like you have a sign or a symptom, you know. So I feel like if people can take their medication very well, they will achieve every dream. They'll be unlimited. I don't feel like pain or a headache or something is hurting because I'm HIV positive. So I feel treatment does magic for us. When you look at people that have lived with HIV for over 30 years, you realize that their lives, the life is where it is because of the treatment, you know. Yes, of course, the positive mindset plays a role, the feeding plays a role, but all those cannot work without the treatment. So that's one of the reasons we started. Then the second one was to fight stigma and discrimination. If I found you with a flower vest made of ARV bottles, I would feel safer around you, you know. There are places we went and you show people are like, oh, that's a very beautiful vase, you know. What is it made of? When you tell them it's ARV bottles,
they don't want to associate with that. But then we realized people were really taking them on. Others they were using them as souvenirs. For example, someone who has had maybe a parent who has lived for HIV for a long time, and they are seeing this beautiful vase. They're like, oh wow, I can put a plant in it, and as it grows, it signifies the life, you know, my mother or my father or, you know, someone has had. And then the third one was, of course, the environmental aspect. Imagine we are 1.4 million people living with HIV. And you're getting these pills in a bottle.
Let me show you. I have mine here. And we are having all these at disposable. We are disposing them off every day. Most of them would burn them. The gas is not okay. I went to one of the police barracks and they're like, I think we dig a new pit latrine every year.
For the bottles?
No, they'll dig a new pit latrine every year because the toilets would be full of these bottles. Like after people swallowing, they'll just drop in the pit latrine. And
because they're also hiding them. They don't want to put them in the ordinary trash cans for everyone to see and know.
So I thought this was a really huge solution to the impact of these bottles on our soil environment and stuff like any other plastic. It is really hazardous.
Okay, now Barbra, as we are about to come to the end of our conversation, but there is one thing. As a country, we have a development goal to end HIV infection by 2030. New infections by 2030.
You nicely. Most people just say to end HIV, which is not
no,
okay.
to end new HIV infections by 2030. Now, new reports from the Uganda AIDS Commission indicate that there is prevalence of HIV infection among older men and young women. And this morning when we started the show, I did mention that the Gen Zs are not so much aware about the impact of HIV and living reckless lives to a degree, but also older people. So what message would you give, one, to the young people that are engaging in sexual practices without one testing, knowing the other person's status, but also to the people that are living positively and they think that since someone gave it to me, I must give it to someone?
Well, I think there's also information gap right now. We've quite relaxed, you know, in creating awareness. I know Kampala could be doing well because it has so many activists, it has so many good organizations. I'll call them good organizations because they have more funding than rural communities.
Yes.
So you'll find that rural communities are really going bad in the HIV campaign. I'll give you an example of where I'm coming from. I'm in the oil city. Like if you came on the weekend, the other place is happening. You know, every bar, every club is full. But who is there? It's the young girls, you know. And we're looking at young girls who are desperate for different reasons. The poverty levels, most of them dropped out of school during COVID, you know, the unemployment levels. But of course, there are these people that come in and they have the money.
The older men,
yes,
they have the money to spend.
So it's like someone doesn't really get to think about what may happen after. So they're just giving in, you know, just like that. There are times you'll find, sometimes I go to do spot checks in clubs and bars, and you'll find like a group of 3-4 girls come, buy one beer, share in disposables, and as they are sipping, they're targeting,
they're waiting for sponsors.
Yes, so you see one go, another one go, you know, and the next day it's the same routine and it's another person. So I feel we need to really find ways of having messages in rural communities. We need more funding, you know, for people in communities. Unfortunately, community-based organizations are doing a lot of work on ground, but then they don't have that competency to get those big grants, or you know, so they kind of lose out, and then they don't get to do, and yet they're the people who actually do the real thing. To the people who are HIV negative, I want to say HIV is still here. I may talk about it the way I talk about it. I may look the way I look, but I've taken this for the past 16 years, you know. I just want to show you how the pill, this is big, but there are bigger pills than this. And I don't want someone to take it for granted, because you know people who cannot finish their malaria dose over a week. So if you know you're ready to swallow this for the rest of your life, it's fine. But if you have an option not to, please don't. It's not easy to find love when you're HIV positive. Not like us who like you come and the first thing I'll tell them, you know what? You know, I'm positive. It becomes difficult when you see whoever comes goes, you know, stuff like that. And then having children, you have to take different precautions, and then you're not going to give birth around maybe your in-laws or what you're sensitive on who is around you when you're going to give birth. So I really think let's all take responsibility. We don't really want you where we are. I think to the positive, I think we've walked a long journey, and where we are right now, it's really hopeful. We have a cure in the pipeline. At least I've had an opportunity to attend most of those international AIDS conferences, and I see what is happening. There are different fellowships on the treatment, on the cure. So I wonder, how is the cure going to find you? Is it going to find you when you're badly off, when you're dead, or when you're up there and it's just going to be for a short time and you say goodbye to medication? So let's all play our part, and as we give information, let's engage both the negative and the positive, because we all reach out to different communities. Otherwise, life is good when you take good care of it. That's the best I can say.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Now, Barbra, for those that would like to give in some money or get more information about your work at Barbra Kisa Foundation, how do they find you?
Is it okay to give my number?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you so much. So kindly reach out to me at, okay, I'm on all social medias, at Barbra Kisa, but my contact is 0701 088 668. I can repeat, 0701 088 668. I look forward to talking to all communities. Like I said, I have a good team, so I can now move and go to attend to different audiences. So kindly invite me to speak. That's one of the way of supporting the organization. But also, if you have someone who is really struggling, we are here to talk to them. Yeah, and whichever way, you don't have to give money if you can't do money, but you can also give us cement, bricks, beds. Maybe you can give us tiles to tile our offices, you know. Yes,
Yes.
So thank you so very much. I'm really humbled to be here.
And I'm grateful that you came here, because it's one thing for someone to live positively or find out that they're HIV positive, but it's also another for them to know that they have access to medication. By the way, just a second, is medication free?
Yes, medication is 100% free if you're taking it because you're HIV positive, or if you're taking it as PrEP or PEP. Medication is free.
Okay, so it's important to know that HIV, finding out that you're HIV positive, is not a death sentence. It might change your life a bit because, like Barbra said, finding love will be a bit complicated. Having children, you take a different course of action to ensure that they're safe. And also, you have to take pills every single day. Also, we need to know that we have over 1.4 million people that are living positively, and most of the drugs that we have, we get from development partners. So the country cannot afford to treat the 49 million Ugandans if everyone gets reckless.
True.
So it's important for you to know that if your status is negative, maintain it, keep it, safeguard it. But if you're positive, you do not want to get a reinfection. There is that too.
Yes.
So you cannot go around spreading because you are trying to give or to revenge, because you might get reinfected and treatment may become complicated. So yeah, you can reach out to Barbra for more information, and if you want someone to walk the positive journey with you, she's the perfect person to do that. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Thank you, Barbra.
Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Be careful. Be careful. Careful.
We are focusing on Kampala Central, we are focusing on Wandegeya, we are focusing on Nansana and Kawempe. What is happening today is within the law and the regulations. This is already established under the Uganda Tourism Act of 2008, under Section 7, Part Section J and K, that spell it out clear that all facilities must acquire a tourism operating license before they operate. It also gives us a mandate to register, inspect, and license all accommodation properties. So for you to operate your facility, you must acquire and obtain a functional tourism operating license. So it's an enforcement exercise that is creating awareness of standards, but at the same time, also carrying a message of compliance and uplifting of standards within facilities in the country. Because this exercise is more on emphasizing the need for acquiring a license. And the main needs of why you should acquire a license. This is a big hotel. For you to give government business, or government to give you business, either way, you must have a license. For you to appear on our website in terms of promotion, you have to have a license. For us to promote your business, you have to have a license.
Hello. How are you?
00 433.
They waited for the managers and the bosses.
433, right? 49.
The owners of hotels and other tourist accommodation should understand that enforcement means good for them, for starters. 2, the main work is to give you what you need to have for the good of your business, for the good of the standard. We cannot talk about standard when we don't talk about enforcement, because these are human beings. You can start a hotel, but maintaining the standard requires a team that should check on you, and this should be done regularly. The teams must be reinforced. The enforcement team needs capacity, needs more numbers, needs more money, needs more vans. They should do this regularly, because it is important. 1, for the country, 2, for tourists, 3, for the hotel owners. There's a huge gap between the owners of hotels and the enforcement team, which is the board. People think that you're competing or your enemies. Up to now, they don't know that this is for the own good of the hotel owners. You reach the managers, take off, the workers are struggling. There are people who don't know their own structure, you can imagine. So you must take through the workers, through your structure. Anybody we find at the facility should be able to take us through. People don't have information. Some people don't even know their manager. So the owners of these facilities, good for them, good for the country, good for everybody, must maintain the standards. We have not encountered any resistance. I mean, the law gives even permission for us to have access. So there's even no need for anybody to stop us from accessing, because we are going to collect you. We are going to give you time to prepare. We are going to tell you what you need for your business. I can tell you, people watching, or good people who want to come and visit this country, must know which hotels are complying with standards. It's good for the country, it's good for the owners, it's good for us. So we must take it in good faith, and it must be regular visit, regular enforcement, conducted regularly, for us to be at the standard.
That's Irish as well.
Irish.
That's Irish.
Well, it's good to have you watch Morning Uganda. It is time for GMU Business now. As we start off with the issue to do with border licensing in the capital. The Ministry of Works and Transport has elaborated on the President's directive to reduce border licensing rates to at least 100,000 Ugandan shillings. In a meeting with the border riders leaders held in Nakawa, Tushabe Wilson, the commissioner of the licensing board, advised riders to undergo safe riding training to reduce accidents caused by borders. Despite the President's directive to reduce border licensing rates by 100,000 Ugandan shillings, border riders claim that they are still not seeing any significant relief. In an effort to clarify the directive, the Ministry of Works held a convention with border leaders to promote widespread training. The executive officer of driving schools in Uganda, Kanyankole Abel, revealed that the reduction in rates may be difficult to achieve due to additional costs such as medical checkups. Susan Kataike, the communications officer, urged border riders to participate in mass training aimed at reducing the cost of acquiring a driving license. The reduction in license rates is intended to assure that every rider obtains a valid driving license. Now, away from the border industry, we turn the focus to the textile industry. The government has been urged to incentivize the private sector investment in spinning and the weaving production to stimulate growth and also increase the domestic consumption of cotton lint. This was made during a public dialogue on the proposed ban on second-hand clothes in Uganda, which was held at the Serena Hotel in Kampala. When you look back in 2016, the 17th Ordinary Summit of East African Community Heads of State adopted a ban on second-hand clothing and footwear imports to develop local textile and leather industries. Early in 2024, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni reaffirmed his commitment to the ban to grow Uganda's domestic textile sector. This prompted the Economic Policy Research Centre, EPRC, to organize a public dialogue to assess the implications of the proposed ban for various stakeholders. Findings from EPRC highlight the significant contribution of second-hand clothes to the economy, especially in terms of employment and revenue purposes. Now, the report highlighted the challenges that will be incurred if the ban is implemented. Dr. Sarah N. Sewanyana, the Executive Director of EPRC, appealed to government to have a gradual transition on phasing out of second-hand clothes. Now, when you look at the collections that the Uganda gets, according to the figures, Uganda collected $57.66 million in the financial year 2017-2018 and 102.71 million in the financial year 2020-2021 from the import and export of second-hand clothes. Now, the country's textile export value also grew from $5.34 million to $8.6 million. Now, away from that, we head to Soroti because the Soroti processing fruit factory in the Teso sub-region has registered a positive change after the facility was recently privatized and taken over by Chimaki Agro Limited, a company owned by former Ethiopian First Lady Azeb Mesfen. Now, Julius Martin Ekom, the CEO of Soroti Fruits Limited, confirmed the partnership has provided the factory with more human resource and additional finance to improve its operations. According to Julius Martin Ekom, the privatization of the company enabled the factory management to sustain timely maintenance activities and process up to 3 bunches of ready-to-drink juice daily. And after the privatization, the factory management held a meeting with farmers where they announced plans to purchase 2 metric tons of oranges worth 1 billion Ugandan shillings during the November and December harvest season. Abraham Musana, a farmer from Ngora district, stated that the traders are buying a bag of oranges at 50,000 shillings, but the factory buys a kilogram for only 500 shillings, which he claims is too low. Now, the Soroti factory processes 6 tons of oranges and mangoes per hour, meaning it now processes around 70 tons a day as it operates for 12 to 13 hours daily. And as we're summing up business this morning, we look at the forex market to see how the shilling was faring on the exchange yesterday. Opening time, the US dollar was buying at 3,699.73 shillings while selling at 3,709.73. By midday, the US dollar was buying at 3,699.73 while selling at 3,709.73. The US dollar then closed buying at 3,697.64 while selling with 3,707.64. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,642.72 while selling at 4,655.31. The euro was buying at 3,876.23 while selling at 3,886.71. The Kenyan shilling then was buying at 28.55 while selling at 28.63. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.39 while selling at 1.39. The South African rand was buying at 204.27 while selling at 204.83. The rates are updated 3 times daily. Figures courtesy of the Central Bank. Coming up is the traffic updates here on Good Morning Uganda.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With must-carry heritage advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, may don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kube Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the MyMTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, assigned Uganda Prison Service a task to produce food and animal feeds. This was a directive of July 2022 to Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to allocate land to Uganda Prison Service for food production. The allocation totaled to 50,000 acres, in which 30,000 acres is maize grain, 10,000 acres soya beans, and 10,000 acres sorghum.
Areas allocated to Uganda Prison Service include Aswa Farm in Pade District, northern part of Uganda.
This is Aswa Farm, originally from Aswa Ranches, land which was handed over to Uganda Prison Service by Ministry of Agriculture for food security intervention, and which came in as a necessity by the government program. And this one arose out of the food scarcity that was happening in the country, and the government through my felt that we should produce food. And this intervention includes Uganda Prison Service.
Bush clearing here started on the 10th of October 2022, and it is progressing on well. Apparently, we have covered acreage of 1,000 acres, which is being prepared.
Uganda Prison Service embarked on an ambitious effort to transform access to Aswa group of prisons, and in so doing is bridging gap for local communities. The construction of new roads and bridges has significantly improved accessibility to the facility, paving way for enhanced economic opportunities and sustainable development.
person in this place. It is a new farm among the new farms which are introduced for food security. And we are seated on an acreage of about 30,000 acres.
As of now, about 2,000 acres is under cultivation for commercial maize production, with several harvests already realized over time. Additionally, storage facilities are being established to ensure efficient handling and distribution of produce.
We are happy that in the neighborhood of Rugore, we are putting a silo, which is going to be a bulk storage, and whole produce from here can be evacuated and taken to Rugore.
An agricultural engineer deployed in Rugore Prison Farm. I am most welcome to Rugore Prison, and this is the silo project, which has a capacity of 3,000 metric tons. It is meant to help in improving the storage capacities and also improving on the post-harvest handling mechanisms.
It's projected that in the next 3 to 4 years, Uganda Prison Service is expected to complete the overall 30,000 acres through establishment of more prison facilities within an agricultural complex.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The Parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. This cold weather, I don't know what you're doing, but at least for me, I'm trying to... Oops, excuse me. It's really cold, but let me just take a sip of my coffee, and I hope wherever you are, in this time when the weather is so cold, you're also doing what I'm doing. Ugandan coffee from Chibinge. This is it's a lovely Wednesday, because every Wednesday we do focus on the cooperative movement in Uganda. And just like I told you, I'm taking coffee from Chiringe. That is one of the leading cooperatives as far as coffee production and value addition is concerned. I was so shocked when I learned that we have cooperatives in Uganda, agricultural cooperatives, that are actually exporting tons and tons of coffee as a cooperative out of Uganda. And the good thing there, we also get premium, and they're developing these entire areas. But that's not the topic for today, just that still it's under cooperatives. Today, we want to focus on improving the dairy value chain through cooperatives. Now, you own a cow, you're educated because of a cow, you're in this cow business. How do we improve the dairy value chain through cooperatives? And of course, when you talk about cooperatives in this country, agricultural cooperatives are known for a long time. And this is what we are still talking about. The dairy farmers that come together, form this cooperative. How do we ensure that those that are not, or those that are already but still not very strong enough, how do we do that? And honored to be having the Executive Director, Dairy Development Authority with me this morning. So for the dairy people in that business, yes, I have the man, he's here with me. And please, whatever you want to ask, let's stick to issues of cooperatives and the value chain to improve this, not any other. Don't call for breeds, don't call for coolers, no. So I have Kisa Simon Peter Mpira with me, Samson Mpira with me in studios. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, moderator, and good morning, viewers.
And then on my extreme end, I have the usual suspect, a man very passionate about cooperatives, and I'm sure even in his dreams somewhere, he doesn't forget to mention the word cooperatives, or wakes up when we are like, there's a cooperative bank in Uganda. And I'm sure this man has had that dream for a very long time. I don't know when he last dreamed when the cooperative bank is up again, but the year is coming to an end. Maybe one day he'll give me an update, because at the start of this year, he was in very high gear and promising me we are there. Now, next week, we enter December. Welcome. That is Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance.
Thank you so much, moderator. Good morning, all our viewers. I'm really very happy to be here. This is a very wonderful morning. I'm happy. Thank you.
Now, I want to begin with the Executive Director, Dairy Development Authority. First and foremost, for our viewer, just to know, what does this do? What is your mandate?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And again, good morning, viewers. Dairy Development Authority is a government agency under Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And its mandate is to regulate the dairy, milk and dairy products, but importantly, to develop the dairy value chain. And we look at production and productivity from on-farm activities like animal nutrition, animal health, and of course breed is working with the other agencies, because we are under agro-industrialization program where we work with NAGRIC, NARO, and take the technologies to the farms. Now, once milk is produced, we ensure clean milk production, and working through the standards, milk and dairy product standards, we make sure that the transportation, processing, and distribution, together with consumption for local and international markets, are met according to the standards. And we do that, of course, through the private sector and also cooperative arrangement, because as you know, our farming systems, we have smallholder farms, medium and large scale, of which aggregation is very important, and also clean milk production, but input and knowledge imparting is at that level of milk collection. So we do all that to ensure that we have clean milk produced, marketed, and consumed, and we protect consumers in terms of health and safety.
Okay. Now, having known the mandate, and of course, one of the sentences there included with working with cooperatives. Now, Ivan, when we talk about this authority and you people in the cooperative movement, first throw more of the linkage. How do you come together, and how has this been of benefit?
Oh, thank you so much, and good morning once again, all our viewers. And as usual, I want to begin by appreciating UBC for always giving us such an opportunity. We didn't have this opportunity as cooperators before. We are just doing our work behind the curtains until UBC came up and said, no, we can give you the platform. Please educate Ugandans. I want to thank the Direct Development Authority and the ED who is here for the support that they have given to farmers. They have really supported the farmers, and the linkage is very clear. We are working together. Because you see, you cannot have just farmers who are not regulated. So their role, they are, like he has mentioned, his mandate is to make sure that the whole milk value chain is properly managed, streamlined, with the policies, with the laws and everything. So for us, our role as UCA, how do we mobilize farmers to take advantage of this environment? So that is, you can now see the synergies that are there. So we cannot work alone because we do not have the law. For us, we do the mobilization, the capacity building, the arbitration, all of that. But for them, the law mandates them, they regulate. They are the ones who really make sure that there is sanity, there is quality control, all of that like he has mentioned. So that is the linkage that is there. And for a long time, we have really worked together. If you went outside there, I saw you talking about coffee. But I want to inform you and Ugandans that we have very strong cooperatives that are into dairy. They have even moved a step and formed a national union, which is Uganda Grain Creameries Cooperative Union at the national level. And the purpose of this was to make sure that they aggregate their milk from the farmer level up to the international market. And we are focusing on now going into value addition. Only that, of course, we still have some challenges of financing, but if we didn't have those challenges, and this is why I call upon government, how do we support each other? How do we ensure that the farmers take advantage of this, and then we move forward? I will give you a case scenario. Me, when I'm here, I like looking at case scenarios, what is happening outside, and can the same be brought here, and then we move forward. Because sometimes when you're on such a TV and you're talking, some people still think that, is this model working really? Is the cooperative model working? How? I give you an example. One time, I happened to visit some cooperatives outside the country in South Korea. Now reaching there, they have a very good model. You know, for them, they control their milk right from the farmer up to the supermarket. You see that value chain. And this is what we are looking at as a country. Now, you go to a farmer, I was a bit surprised. When you go to a farmer, he has 200 cows, very good quality, 200 cows on 2 acres. I was just looking as if I was dreaming. 200 cows, 2 acres, 1 employee, the rest is technology. Now, each cow producing 50 liters of milk. A day, 50 liters. Now, the whole thing is technology. The cow just enters, and then you see the robots coming in to do the milking. And the milk is going through the system. And then the cooperative society, because he has to be a member of a cooperative society, the cooperative society, once the milk is in the cooler, because when they do the milking, the milk will go to the system. And then the cooperative, a driver will come with a card, like an ATM card. He just fix it. They don't need even to ask. They just fix it in the system, and then they take the milk to the cooperative society. The cooperative society does processing of the milk. They get yogurt, they get these other products, and then the same products go to the supermarket owned by cooperatives. The largest supermarket in Seoul is owned by cooperatives. So meaning that the milk has come from Ivan Asimi, who is a farmer, it has gone to the cooperative society, it has gone to the union, the factory, they have added value, it has gone as a finished product to the supermarket owned by Ivan, a cooperator, and then to the market. This is the model. Now, when you come back to Uganda, I want to inform Ugandans that we have strong cooperatives that are into dairy. You go to Western Uganda, look at, let's say, Abesiga na Kashali, Nibiharwe. Look at Shema Dairy. Look at Changwali here. Look at, there are so many in the country. And all of these have been able to grow and reach where they are because of the support of DDA, the Dairy Development Authority, because they have a lot of work. They have really contributed a lot towards economic empowerment of these dairy farmers. And then UCA through mobilization. And this is the linkage we are looking at. You know, me, I'm from an area where we basically rear cows. We are cattle keepers. But you could imagine in the past, before DDA, for us, we could just have cows. You get your milk. Milk was just there. You find the dog is big like a lion because we didn't have any market. The milk was just there. They pour milk in a basin and the dogs would be taking milk until the sector got organized so that the farmers knew, yes, there is money in milk. That's why now these days it is rare to find milk at home. You can't find it. Because you farm, immediately you get your milk from the cow, it goes to the cooperative, and then the cooperative sells it. So, but what we are looking at now, this is not enough. How do we ensure that the farmer through a cooperative completes the whole value chain?
Now, this is why I want to bring in the Executive Director of the Dairy Development Authority. Let's see, how have you gone down to help the ordinary farmer? Because in dairy there are two sectors. We have these huge farmers. Those that have made it, some are government officials, he has his farm, and then we have these, His Excellency usually talks about the people is trying to ensure that it takes into understanding to move away from having so many local breeds and they give you almost nothing, to move towards having better breeds that give you more milk. Now, as the authority, how through the cooperative model have you been able to give a hand to this, I want to say, the local dairy farmer?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that through the national planning, the development plans, dairy as a commodity was identified as one of the key drivers for the livelihoods of the communities. And from there, the government, through His Excellency the President, have put in resources to ensure that it becomes a commodity to be traded even at international market. And now, once the market is ascertained, both locally and internationally, then it drives the demand of the more milk production. And we've seen the growth of milk production in the last 6 years, coming from almost 1 billion to now 5.3 billion liters. And all this have been the effort of government to put in inputs at a production level. But importantly, of course, through the PDM and before, the government has been emphasizing on support to smallholder farms and farmers when they are organized. And this has strengthened the cooperatives at that level, from primary to secondary and tertiary cooperatives, by working together to ensure that there is aggregation. Because selling 5 liters, you might not have a very good market or a good price or negotiation. So all our efforts in terms of support to farmers, be it small, medium, and large, is hinged on organized associations and cooperatives, and this has led to more cohesion and ensuring there is governance. Now, what we look at as the sector is that the smallest way on how we can aggregate is around the milk collection center. Because the milk collection center The government gives around 3,000 liters, 5,000 liters, and this takes about, okay, so depending on their farm holdings.
You talked about 3,000, 5,000
liters
in a collection center?
Collection center. It's the best where we want to hinge all other services, because this is a hub that will bring the farmers together.
Where every farmer brings their milk?
Yeah, their milk.
Then they collect
one for ensuring quality, two for aggregation, but also it becomes easier for support services, be it even financial, be it input distribution, and even information dissemination becomes easy at that level. So we've been using the cooperative model to have a collection or bulking center, and it becomes a hub of services around it, such that for every support, and this blends in well now with parish development model, where we have a parish which have selected a dairy enterprise, and then they are organized to form cooperatives and then access services. So once that is done, what happens next is now ensuring quality, because milk has come from the farm, it's of good quality. There's negotiation because there are volumes and the buyers can find clean milk in one place. Then now we look at the transportation, license all those transporters to ensure that they are meeting the transport requirements and hygiene, then to the processing facilities. And this robust regulatory infrastructure has led to more investments of the private sector to know that there is clean milk that will come to the processing, and then the products that are processed are then good to access better markets. So all this is done in a way to ensure that the farmer increases production and productivity, the processor receives clean milk, it is transported through acceptable vessels like tankers, and then we have the products that are competitive on international market, of which we have now gone to different many destinations in terms of products. We take SA into USA, that is the derivative of the protein in the milk, and other 122 varieties of the products that 160 companies that are licensed, small, medium, and large, are doing.
Very interesting when we see how cooperatives have been a solution to the challenges of dairy farmers in this country. The issue is coming together. And when we talk about coming together, the ED has just been very clear that the collection centers, that is where they start business, because they know that many farmers are there. So if you're a dairy farmer and you're watching us this morning, do you belong to any cooperative? One person once said that if you want to run longer, run along with many people. If you want to run a short distance, then maybe you can go one. So if you want to expand your daily production, then that means you have to be a member of a cooperative, because that is the only way such services will come your way. Individual farmers, the authority may not be very much interested into you single-handedly than when you're many. Now, Ivan, how have the dairy farmers responded towards joining cooperatives? Because, you know, dairy farmers, some you find very interesting characters. I visited a person, and we even had to use a car to move through his farm. Here in Uganda, I'd never seen cows that many. On one hill, another hill. Now, in my heart of hearts, I said, now what would this one really need? He has the cows, maybe some he doesn't know the number. He gets milk in plenty. I would see vehicles coming, picking. A very blessed man indeed. Now, what has been their response? A person with the cows seems to be having it all. Now telling them to join cooperatives, you have to pay membership, then Ivan calls you, there is an annual general meeting, then here your membership. You know, the meetings and all that hassle of keeping a cooperative live. Yes.
Yeah, and this has been, thank you so much, moderator. This has been mainly the role of UCA in community mobilization. Like you are saying, some people take long to adopt
And have it all. They may not even see the need to.
But once they are there, like he's mentioning, once he's there and he's seeing the benefits, then automatically he'll respond very fast. So I may really say that the response has not, I can't put it at 90 or 100%, but at least the response has been there. And this has been due to the collaboration between UCA, DDA, and also, of course, the support of government and the different partners. And I want to appreciate the partners who have been into this thing. So the response is there, but it's a bit slow. For them to really, for the farmers to understand, take advantage, adopt, and then eventually you find that all of them. But I'm very happy. Because at the start, really Uganda Cooperative Alliance invested in this. Because the dairy is very profitable. It's very profitable. But very few people would know that actually it is profitable, because some of us would just keep cows for purposes of just prestige, as like it's a tradition. And for us, we are believing in many cows, not even looking at milk. And you would say, you would count, when you reach 100, you put a ring. And then at the bar, like we are seated together here, then you find this, maybe Chirabu is asking me, how many rings do you have? There he wants to know whether you are really a man. So for them, for us, we would really consider you as a man depending on the numbers. But with the intervention of DDA and UCA, farmers really realized that it is not about numbers of cows, but rather it's about the milk output. Because how much milk are you producing so that you are able to make money? What is the essence of keeping 600, 1,000 cows when you are not even getting one container of milk? Instead, why don't you have a few cows that produce a lot of milk? So it has been a gradual process, but I'm very happy that finally where we are, we have very strong cooperatives that are into dairy, like he has mentioned, that they are now supplying a lot of milk. Farmers have been educated, they have left the other poor breeds, and then now they have good breeds. The milk previously, you would buy milk along the way, and you find it is all water. But now at least there is quality milk. When you buy milk, you don't find water there. You don't find fire, you don't find this foreign material because of all of that sensitization. So it has been a gradual process, but that is where we are. And I tell you, I want to really challenge the cattle keepers. This is the right time for us to invest in better breeds, for us to ensure that we have good quality milk, so that we can really, because there is a lot of market for milk. There is a lot of money. You saw how coffee farmers were celebrating. But the dairy farmers, for them, they celebrate daily, because milk is produced every day, not per season. So if you went outside this country, you go to Denmark, you go to Netherlands, Friesland, Campina. It's almost the largest dairy cooperative in the world, with it is operating in over 40 countries. This is purely owned by farmers, the Dutch, who, me and you, aggregate their milk through the cooperative. It goes to their company, it is processed, exported globally. You go to Norway, you go to Kenya here, you go to Rwanda. So the examples are so many world over. So if it has happened the other side, and it is doing very well, the farmers are empowered economically, why not this country? So I want to call upon everybody, including you, Chirabu. You are taking milk this morning, but I don't know whether you own a cow. So it is high time, and owning a cow does not mean having a bigger chunk of land. No, even like I've mentioned, someone having 200 cows on 2 acres, and moreover he doesn't have pastures, he imports pastures from Germany. And where he imports pastures, I really got a lot of information. Even in Germany, the exporters of pastures are farmers through a cooperative. It is a cooperative exporting grass
I'm very sure.
to a cooperative of dairy in Korea.
I'm
so
very sure
the same can work here.
I'm very sure I will get there, because I'm into cattle. And I remember when we first began, it was all about giving cows elephant grass.